There is an experience that is not much understood or even acknowledged. When you are alone and it is quiet, do you hear something? Do you hear something in yourself? Medical science tends to lump all inner sounds under the category of tinnitus. But are all inner sounds tinnitus? A ringing or buzzing vibration in the ears? I didn't think so. In Hinduism, there is an inner sound called Anahata Dhwani, the Unstruck sound, which has no beginning or end. It is heard by meditators. I came to the Vedanta Society in San Francisco to ask about this inner sound, which can have repercussions without training, as we are getting something for which we may not be ready, though the experience itself can be a source of peace. I talked with Swami Tattwamayananda. So could you tell us what Anahata Dhwani is?
Yeah, Anahata Dhwani is a transcendental verbal symbol that we hear when we reach a higher level of spiritual evolution, and for that we have to go through a set of spiritual disciplines. Like mostly at the beginning we have to practice yamas and niyamas, which are two set of disciplines mentioned in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, Sauja, Santosha, Tapasvadhyaya, Iswarpanidhana. These are 10 disciplines. The first 5 ones are called yamas. The second set of 5 is called niyamas. Now, when you practice these disciplines, your mind and your thoughts and your ideas, your whole emotional and intellectual system get fully established in non-violence, total freedom from greed, any desire for possessing anything, and pure chaste life, a sense of inner contentment, external and internal purity. All these qualities are essential before we take the first step in spiritual life. Once we are established in these disciplines, then we practice meditation, japa, or any of the spiritual practices. Then our progress, our growth will be natural and spontaneous. Otherwise, we may get some fragments of experiences. It can sometimes be even harmful. It can even lead to delusions of grandeur. Suddenly we may feel that we have some wonderful higher experience, and now there is a way to test whether this experience is genuine or not. The one important and simple method to test is if this experience gives you a deep sense of internal serenity, calmness, a self-fulfillment, and if it helps you to look upon our life and the world from a sense of serenity and contentment, then that experience as a spiritual element, it is genuine. Sometimes some of these experiences could make people excited, could lead to what I mentioned earlier, delusions of grandeur. And even in some cases, delusions of reference and delusions of grandeur can also lead to delusions of persecution. People are not recognizing me, they are against me. So the reason for this is we are getting something for which we are not ready. See, when we get certain things for which we are not ready, for which our mind is not ready, then instead of being benefited by that spiritual experience, it only comes to us as an aberration. So that's why at the beginning of our life, we must go through certain disciplines, mental discipline and physical discipline. That's why we should practice non-violence, serenity, contentment, pure life, and then we should keep our mind in association or in the world of good ideas. We should feed our mind with good mental food. Good mental food means spiritual food, which we can do by good association, by reading good books, by feeding our mind with good ideas. So these are different ways of preparing ourselves mentally for spiritual practice. This is very, very crucial. Otherwise, in modern times, people practice pranayama, breathing exercises, and some complicated yoga asanas like Shirshasana, Siddhasana. Some of these asanas can lead to serious complications if done without guidance from a teacher, and if you practice it for a very long time. If it is simple exercise, it may not have any bad effect. Nothing, just like gymnastics. But prolonged practice of complicated mental and physical disciplines without being ready for them could lead to undesirable consequences.
After having prepared yourself spiritually to undertake these exercises, and one does experience Anahata Dhwani, what is it like?
Then you may hear a deep, a distant, but clear sound. But Anahata Dhwani is not so easy in these modern times. It is not something that you just hear as a result of practicing meditation for a few months or for a few years. And these practices should be taken up under the guidance of a teacher. If we don't practice them under the guidance of a teacher, sometimes we may not be able to really find out what is going on in our mind. So we should get our mind ready before we take up these practices. Again, there is a simple test. If you get any spiritual experience, and if that gives you an intense, a deep sense of contentment, serenity, a spontaneous, natural, effortless peace, feeling of peace and happiness, and if that also expresses in the form of compassion, broad-mindedness, love and good feeling towards others, not only human beings but the whole creation, then it has a spiritual element in it. That's one way to test. If an experience gives us a subjective feeling of inner contentment and serenity, and if it expresses in our interaction with others in the form of compassion, broad-mindedness, then it is spiritual. But if it leaves in our mind some kind of irritation, confusion, then it is not to be taken seriously. We should not worry about it. We should consider this as something that happens in the process of our spiritual practices. We should not let our mind ponder too much over that.
Swami, have you met people who have had this experience?
I have met some spiritual persons who mentioned, but they do not reveal this. Another very important aspect of a person who has a genuine experience, he will not go about announcing this, because along with this experience you also get this wisdom, this spiritual common sense. It is not something to be paraded, it is not something to be proclaimed or advertised. On the other hand, it leaves in our mind a sense of peace and happiness. So it's a deep subjective experience, not something that we talk too much about.